I want to welcome everyone. So we're doing this 8-week training series. Some of you have maybe seen it. Some of you are using ClickBACON. Some of you have maybe never heard of ClickBACON, but my name is Ryan Gromfin. I'm with the Restaurant Boss and with ClickBACON. ClickBACON is a software tool that I created with some developers. I think we're coming on 11 or 12 years ago now. And it was originally built as a tool to help me get off of spreadsheets when I was operating restaurants and to help a lot of my clients get off of spreadsheets. There's nothing wrong with spreadsheets. I love spreadsheets, but most people don't love spreadsheets. So we basically took all the spreadsheets that I was using to operate my restaurant in ways that I thought were fairly simple and fairly easy for people, and we turned it into software. And now last year we went out and we raised some money and we brought on some new team members and some new expertise. I have a partner who's had a 30-year career in software, mostly in hospitality software. He did a lot of software development for Cisco, as well as did software development for some POS systems. So he's heading up the development team. And then our other partners are bookkeeping and finance experts. One of them has operated, I think, 12 or 13 different restaurants in his career. And the other one is currently running their bookkeeping firm, which focuses strictly on restaurant bookkeeping, financial consulting, and just everything related to, like I said, restaurant finance. And so between us, we've rebuilt what we are now calling ClickBACON AI. And I'm going to bring that up here in a second. ClickBACON AI is the new and improved ClickBACON. My philosophy and our development philosophy over at ClickBACON is to try to keep things as absolutely simple as possible for the operator. Our target market is more of an independent operator, maybe up to 10 units, sometimes up to 15. We have clients with more units than that, but our target operator is for those of you who are, operating your restaurants. You're in it, you're looking at your numbers, you need some support, you need to get a better idea of what's going on, but you are not wanting to spend your whole day, diving in the numbers and counting and doing all that stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. And today's goal is to demonstrate the dashboard, to talk about what the dashboard does, what it is, what value you can get from the dashboard. And then, like I said, I'll be available for any questions that anyone has here. And then each week for the next 8 weeks, we're going to be diving into a different part of the app. We're going to be doing, I believe, reporting next week. We're going to look at creating and using a budget. We're going to look at the sheets, like checklists and prep sheets and order guides. We're going to look at how to use our document manager and document extracting tools. We're going to look at POS integration. So we'll be doing that over the next 8 weeks. It'll be the same time, same place. You'll get an email the day before. So welcome to the dashboard and welcome to the sample bistro account. My philosophy when I was building the dashboard is that I want people to get a quick look at their restaurant financial health as the first thing that they see. And then as we scroll down, the dashboard gets more and more detailed. You'll notice a little repetition in things. Sometimes it's very similar data shown in a different way. Some people prefer things that are visual. Some people prefer things that are more numbers driven, less visual. Eventually, we're not there yet, but on our development roadmap will be the ability for you to customize the dashboard, move things around, turn certain things on, turn certain things off. So again, you'll see some stuff on here that might look like a duplicate, and you'll have the ability to say, you know what, I prefer this view and I don't need to see that view. But what I said, is to come here and take a good, quick overall look at your financial health. Now, unfortunately, I didn't think about it when I planned the demo today that we're doing this on the 4th of the month, because this overall financial health widget can appear to be a little inaccurate at the beginning of the month. So we'll start there, but I'm going to bring up an image of a different view, a screenshot that I have of a different account with a little more data in it. And so the way that the financial health widget works is it tells you what percentage of the month you are through. So in this case, in this example, This would probably be on the 11th or the 12th of the month. It's showing that we are 35% of the way through the month. Now, if you drew an imaginary line down this widget from the period of the month that we're in, through sales, through prime costs, and through expenses, in a perfect world, you would be at or above 35% of your sales budget. You would be at or below 35% of your prime cost budget, and you would be at or below 35% of your expenses. I'm not going to get into why this is saying it's red, even though it's 34.2. Technically, this should be green because it's less than 35%. This was a rounding error. We knew about it. That's actually why I have the picture here in my database, is because this was for the developers. But I needed a picture to demonstrate to you something better than what the dashboard is displaying now. So in a perfect world, like I said, you'd come here and you'd look at your restaurant and see, well, we're 35% of the way to the month. Yikes, we're only at 16% of sales. That's a problem. That's why it's red. If we look here, though, let me admit someone else coming into the meeting. If we look here and we say, well, our expenses, we're only at 26% of our expenses. Well, that's good. We want our expenses to be lower than budget. That's why it's green. And then what we do is we use an algorithm based on this to tell you, are you in a warning area? Are you in a good area? Like, are you doing well, or do you need to look into your data a little more? And I have one more. Let me close this out here. And I have one more example just to show you another one. Very similar information. This one's just showing us a little further into the month, right? This is 64.52. Let's just call it 64% of the way through the month. Sales are at 57% of budget. That's bad. That's red. But prime cost is good. Prime cost is only at 52%. That's good. That's green. Expenses are at 68%. That's bad. That's red. But when we factor them all together, our algorithm says, yeah, you're a little behind on sales. You're a little over in expenses. But prime cost, you're saving so much money by being below where you should be by so much in prime cost that we're giving you an excellent rating. So like I said, this is just a quick overview. It's not designed to give you exact specific information, but it's designed for you to look at it and say, I'm doing well, or I need to look at something else. This is my second favorite widget in the app. This is what I call the rolling for prime cost or rolling for controllable costs. I'll explain the difference in a second. Prime cost is the most important number you could be tracking in your restaurant. I forgot to ask. Dawn probably would have messaged me if not. But one, are you guys seeing and hearing me? Okay. I probably should have asked that. Again, normally I'd get a message, but just want to make sure. Anyone who's new, who's jumping in here, if I haven't had a chance to say hello, type into the chat. Let me know where you're calling in from. Let me know the name of your restaurant. Okay, good. You can see and hear me. Okay, that's great. If anything changes, type in, let me know. But again, I love to say hello to people and see where we're all calling in from. So rolling 4 week. This is the last 4 completed weeks. It does not include this week. The reason I love rolling 4, I've done a lot of testing. I've done a lot of testing with rolling 3, rolling 5, rolling 6, rolling 8, rolling 2. And we discovered that 4 seems to give us the most accurate data. I love it because it's a good trend. It shows you rolling for anything, rolling for sales, rolling for COGS, rolling for labor. It shows you your trend, not just where you are now, but how are you trending? And what I love the most about it is it doesn't include this week. And the reason I love that is today's Wednesday. You might have gotten a big order from your broadline. You might have gotten a $5,000 or $6,000 food order today. You might have gotten some beer, some wine. You're getting ready for the weekend, but you haven't sold that product yet. And if we include that in your COGS may jump up and be way too high. But by looking at this, we're looking at the last 4 weeks, not including this week. So rolling, you'll hear me talk about that over the next 8 weeks, is one of my favorite analytical numbers. But this is the rolling 4 prime cost. For those of you who are not familiar with what prime cost is your sales minus your COGS, minus your discounts, minus your labor. and it's usually expressed as a percentage, or at least it makes most sense to us as a percentage. The goal is for your prime cost to be less than 60%. I set a goal for my clients to run a prime cost of 55%. This demo account is doing great. They're running a 46.13% prime cost. That's fantastic. And then you can look and see what's our rolling for COGS. 24% COGS, that's amazing. 19% labor, amazing, right? So this sample restaurant's doing great. Controllable cost is very similar. It includes direct operating expenses. So we'll talk more about budgeting and we'll talk about bonuses at some point in the future in a different call. But if we were to bonus our team members, we would bonus them on what I call controllable cost. Some of my partners call that income from operations. It's the same idea, but basically it includes direct operating expenses. What I love about this number is this is everything that's controllable within the four walls of the restaurant. If we've set up our general ledger accounts correctly, this would be tracking everything controllable in the restaurant, not the non-controllable. So in my opinion, things like utilities are not controllable. Things like credit card fees are not controllable. Things like marketing, professional fees, attorneys, consultants. Hey, you own the restaurant. You want to lease a car and pay for it through the restaurant. That's great. You should absolutely do that. But our managers can't control that. So it's not fair to bonus them on bottom line. I like to bonus them on what I call restaurant controllable cost or restaurant controllable profit, or what others might call income from operations. But that's what we're showing here. If you're using our POS integrator to pull data in from your POS, if you're using our document processor or document manager, this will tell you what needs to be done. We saw some new items. You need to confirm them. Click here. We had an issue with yesterday's sales. Go figure that out. Click here. There's a document that's ready for your review. Go ahead and click here. Weekly sales target. So a lot of the widgets in our app are based on budget. In my opinion, if we don't know where we're going, we can't analyze whether we're doing good or whether we're doing poorly. We have to know what our targets are so then we can say we're on pace or we're not on pace. A lot of us are not using budgets. And a lot of us are not using budgets because, if I'm being completely honest, budgets are difficult. They're conceptually challenging. We're not going to get into the budget builder today. We do that in a future training. But we've tried to make budgeting as simple as possible. One of the things that we've done is we use an algorithm. Our AI looks at your historical sales, predicts what your budget will be daily based on that. So if you say we're going to do $100,000 in sales this month, we'll go back and look at your historical Mondays, your historical Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and we'll predict how much you're going to do on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Some of our clients are closed on Sunday. Our algorithm learns that and then gives you a $0 budget for Sunday. Some of them are closed on Monday. We'll do the same thing. What we're doing here that I love is, let's say next week, let's go to next week. Here's our budget for next week. Now, you as the owner, operator, or manager might say, you know what, next Monday we're closed. Well, you could click here and put a 0 there. Or you might say, you know what, next Monday is a holiday. We get really busy on holidays. We're going to do 4,000. We're going to do more than I thought. So you could click here and change that. Then when you're done, you approve the sales and your entire budget updates, and your team members can't change it now. It's locked in. And then that way they'll be operating and placing orders and scheduling labor based on numbers that you have approved. This is just a quick shortcut. These are kind of favorite reports and favorite parts of the app that you can customize. So if there's a 2025 monthly budget report or a yearly budget report or something, the rolling cost of goods sold report, you could just create that in the report, save it, add it to your quick shortcuts. The sales analysis. So this is a very quick snapshot again of sales. How are we doing month to date? How are we doing month to date compared to, this is compared to last month to date. This is compared to your target, and this is compared to last year. You'll notice red numbers mean you're behind, green numbers mean you're ahead, and then the same thing for year-to-date sales. One more widget on sales. I know a lot of people like to look at sales, so we built a lot of different views for sales, like I said. This is a great view. This shows you your daily sales compared to budget, your daily sales compared to last week, and then your daily sales compared to the same week last year. So very quickly, you could look and see, okay, what did we do in sales this week? How did that compare to last week? How did that compare to the same week last year? Now, if we look at a previous week, you'll get a better total here. So in this case, this restaurant is struggling a little bit. They're 32% down last week from their budget. Now, I noticed that they don't have sales on Saturday. Maybe there's a problem with that and it didn't get entered. We could look at that. Or maybe they were closed on Saturday, which would explain maybe why they're down. Compared to last week, they're down, but a little less. Compared to last year, there's a problem in the sample data here. So we'll ignore that. This is what I call closing the range. So another view again on sales. I love this view because it's so easy to look at it and see, am I ahead or behind of where I should be? One thing to note here, you'll notice that we're starting to get dynamic in our widgets. Most software tools have a very stale, very permanent dashboard or reporting. Ours is very dynamic. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but people really appreciate the fact that we adjust based on your actuals. We adjust based on the day of the month. So instead of just saying you're 90% behind your monthly sales budget, well, that's great, but today is only the 4th of the month. Of course, I'm 90% behind my sales budget. What we're saying is today, right now, you're behind where you should be. So this is not this is month to date. This is you should be at 12,000 sales today and you're at 5,900 today. So tomorrow this target will change and these rings will change. So it's a really dynamic daily view. Same thing for yearly, but here's the best part. This person, yeah, they're a little bit behind on the month, but this sample account that we model off of a real account, look, they're ahead on the year. So maybe they're having a bad month, but they're doing great for the year. We can see their ring is closed. There's no gray. They're ahead by 50,000 for the year. So we're now done with sales and we're now looking at some more expense data. So we can look at our COGS, our discounts, and our labor at a high level view, or we can drill in. Now, you can set this widget to be monthly or weekly, and you can set it to be this month, last month, any month you want. So I think for us to get the best view at this, let's look at last month. You can see they ran a 29.51% food cost. First of all, I just want to quickly ask, you don't have to answer this, but I'd love if you could type it in. How many of you could find your food costs this easily? Now, I've spent 15 minutes going through the dashboard, but you could literally log in here, scroll to here, and there's your food cost for last month. I find that when I talk to people, I'm waiting on my bookkeeper, I'm waiting on the report. You get the report, you got to pull out your calculator, you got to enter it into a spreadsheet, right? For most of us, even most of my clients, if they're not using ClickBACON, when I ask what their food cost is, it's always a guess. It's right here for you, quickly, easily. 29.51% was your food cost. Your target food cost was 28, which is why it's red. We can drill down and look at a little more detail if we want to find out, right? Your sales for this period were 59,000. Your actual COGS or your actual food cost was 17. Your target food cost was 16, right? So that shows you that you were the 893 over. And we can do the same thing. We need to clean up this demo sample account because there's a few things on here, accounts that we don't use, but you can very quickly see their wine cost, their bottle beer cost, etc. If we look at discounts, again, discount percentages, targets, details, very easily. Same thing with labor. This is my favorite, right? Labor cost, boom, right there, right where you want to be. And we could just quickly look at that and see how we're doing. The last thing, let me go back to the total, to the overview. The last thing I want to share with you on the dashboard is the declining balance summary. So the theory behind declining balance is that, let's use some very quick numbers here, some simple numbers. Let's say you're going to do $100,000 in sales and you have a target cost of goods sold of 30%. That means you can spend $30,000 on cost of goods sold products, purchases, right? 100,000 in sales, 30% cost of goods sold. You could spend 30,000 on cost of goods sold. Same thing with labor, same thing with discounts. So then what we do is you create a budget. So now we know what this bucket of money for you to spend is. And then every time you spend money, we reduce that bucket. And that's what it's showing you here. It's telling you that, hey, you've got 17,000 left to spend on COGS. You've got 16,000 left, 15,000 left, 14,000 left, right? Whatever it is, then you could break it down more specifically. The balance is a little more complicated, but it goes into that dynamic thing I was talking about earlier. It's one thing to just say, I'm budgeted for 100, my target is 30, I can spend 30,000, how much do I have left? But what if you're over your sales? What if you're budgeted for 100, but you're trending to 110, 120? Well, then you're going to run out of your bucket too early, or vice versa. You're budgeted for 30%, but you're not trending to 100. You're trending to 80 or 90. Well, if we still tell you you have this $30,000 bucket, you're going to overspend. So what we do is, it's very complicated, but we do your actual sales and your budgeted sales together to create your buckets. So again, if you're halfway through the month, we take your actual for the first 15 days, your budget for the next 15 days, and that's how we give you your bucket. The balance is as of this moment in time, how much you are over or under where you should be. So again, this case, let's look at food, for example. They have 15,000 remaining and they're 470 ahead of where they should be, under where they should be. They're doing great. That's why the number is green. If the number were red, that means that they've overspent. And so then the last thing, and I'm happy to answer questions, I just want to get through this training. The last thing here, and then I'll stop and we'll answer as many questions as people have. This is just an overview of your profit and loss, but only prime cost. And I love having this on the dashboard because, again, for some of your team members, we can go in and set their access that they can't run reports. They can't run a full P&L, or they can't see certain things because they're the manager of a store. They don't need to see everything, but they do need to see prime cost. So they could come here and they could quickly look and see what's our P&L prime cost, right? So what's our prime cost and what's our gross margin, which is the opposite. And you can drill down into this to get more detail, and you can go back and forth.